whatever's keeping you from succeeding, because then you can change it. Can't change it if it's everybody else.
Amen.
Can I get an amen?
Amen. You got it. You got it. All right, cool. So I'm trying something new, guys. So bear with me as I struggle through the technology change that we all roll with. Dun, dun, dun. All right, cool. So today, guys, welcome session 2. I'm going to share my screen. We should be and it's going bigger. So that's plus, it's a win.
No, we don't want to go home, right? Got to go big.
Goodness, no. Goodness, no. Now we got my screen, right?
Got him.
Look at this. This is the win of the day for Tuesday. If anybody else is struggling, hats off. It's 58 degrees and raining in Chicago in June. So I'm hoping this is the low of my week. Dun, dun, dun. All right, so a couple cool things that happened that I want to talk about, because I think as a group, and if you're in sales meetings, I think you should talk about 2 things before we go into this. It's not part of No Reps Left Behind, but one, talk about wins. If there's one thing that's always made a massive impact in businesses, and I'll say specifically telemarketing, because this is huge, is understanding everyone's successes, especially when you have multiple people in a group. It's really motivating for a team to be able to see someone win, someone win, someone win. Even if it's spread out, it still gets that positive vibe. So if you go into a meeting or something like that, it doesn't matter if it's sales or not, operations, do the work, guys, talk about some of the wins that you had. And there is a humbling side as well to talk about fails of the week. So if you guys hear me talk about things that are going right or wrong, that's simply because I'm being real. And it's real life. So all right, so a couple wins of the week I was going to talk to you about, David. So number one, salesman based out of Texas ended up texting me. This was last week. I want to say 2.1 was the sales that he had. 2 projects, 2.1 million. I think it was somewhere around that dollar.
Yep. 2.3.
2.3.
Yep.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's awesome. Now, he is one of the individuals that I talked about last week that specifically came not from roofing. So we're talking about someone who's selling $1 million projects simply by running a process, asking the right questions, and becoming a trusted advisor versus commodity contractor trying to, sell a product or a proposal. The second thing, and this came from the same thing, but this was super cool. He actually mentioned, he goes, thanks for taking a risk on someone that knew absolutely, I'll hold the profanity, nothing about roofing. And that was the coolest side to me as we were going through some of his wins, is that he knew absolutely nothing about roofing. Now he's learned a whole boatload about it, right? But the coolest part is that he adapted the process. He asked the right questions. He jumped through it. And now he's selling $1 million projects. So I'll say the top 1% get to the point where you get to sell $1 million project or get into that hundreds of thousands, which is absolutely phenomenal. But the takeaway from this, guys, talk about your wins as a team, because even those little micro wins can be enough to be able to motivate the rest of the team. And talk about your failures. It's okay to talk about biggest fail of the week. As long as A, you're humble about it, you can joke about it. And if someone else learns, that's the win, right? That's why we're here, is to be able to take those speed bumps out, because there is a proven method, especially on the sales side, to be able to ask the right questions, which is taking the roadblocks out of the way. We're trying to make this easier for sales reps. David said it best. You talk about raising the bar, right? It's like, I'm going to raise the bar. I'm going to do this. Well, the only thing that does is make it harder for your reps to reach it. So I can say, hey, every one of my sales reps are going to sell $1 million, right? I'm going to raise it up. The new goal for sales reps is $1 million a year. That's great. If the floor is not the same level for everybody, the individual or the sales rep that already has $500,000 worth of residual revenue from certain clients is going to be a lot closer to the person that doesn't. And that's when you start getting inconsistencies of sales processes, of successes, and why some people are bringing home 10, 20, 30,000 every single week inside sales, and some aren't bringing in anything. So bridge the gap between your best and worst sales rep. That's what I'm telling you. That's what we're going to accomplish. So welcome. This is No Reps Left Behind. You ready, David?
I'm ready.
Let's do this. All right, cool. So welcome to number 2, guys. So if you were on the first one, we kind of did a kickoff high level. And if you were on that and for some reason it didn't press live, well, again, fail of the week. I will be using a different technology that'll stream better and all that stuff. So we'll get there. I fixed the problem. All right, so let's get into this. My name is Chad Westbrook. I am the founder of Service Alignment, and ultimately, I'm going to take David's route. I got 3 kids. I love them. I'm a soccer coach, all this kind of different fun stuff. And I apply all of this not only into my business, but directly into coaching kids and everything else, because sales is ultimately the path of becoming a trusted advisor, which means not selling something that people don't need, creating clarity and confidence of where it is. And I'm telling you, if I can lead a team of 8-year-olds, you can lead a team of, let's just say 30, 40, 50, 60-year-olds in the same process. And that's what we're doing. I'm here every week, guys. If you're new here, welcome. You'll learn more about me as we get rolling.
All right, guys. David, founder of 45. I'm going to continue with my route because it's catching on. Chad loves it. Dad of 2. Also have a beautiful wife. I live for them, but the key thing about sales and what it's done for my life and my career is it's given me the opportunity to be able to put in the effort and the focus to go get unreasonable results that have then allowed me to live what I would call probably an unreasonable life, coming from my poor background and all of that. So that's what this is all about. This is all about giving you guys the tools that Chad and I have fought tooth and nail to figure out over the course of our 15 years in sales and sales leadership, that have created unreasonable levels of success for companies and teams, and give them to you so that you can create great levels of success and continue to support and allow the people that you love to thrive. We've gone through you can see everything here. I've founded multiple companies. I've written books. I've done all the leadership stuff from 3 million to 100 million and everything in between. So it's good to be here with you guys, but this is all about getting you guys results. This is not stuff that we want to give you and that sounds pretty cool, I might try one of those things. No, take the freaking stuff we give you guys. We've gone through it all. We've tested this stuff in live environments and it gets real results. And we're wanting to raise the level here. So go on the journey with us.
There we go. Cool. All right. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how the trainings are going to work. If you've been a part of the other phases we have, that's awesome. It's only going to get better because David and I obviously get cooler. But anyway, so you guys will have access to today's recording session. So I'm creating something that's ultimately called the Sales Locker. So if you guys ever want to go back in, see past recordings, anything else like that, it's available. Anytime we do role playing or Q&A or anything else like that, if we have time at the end of these, I typically cancel because I want you guys to feel comfortable. I don't want you to not ask questions. That's the scariest thing for me, is that when I go do a training and everyone's like, nah, I got it. That's the scariest thing possible, because you guys are supposed to ask questions. You're supposed to be inquisitive, to be able to challenge what we do. That's how we got to this point, is that we've challenged everything of why do we do this? And this is what we have proven time and time again, to be able to create clarity and confidence with our customers, to be able to help increase our close ratio, increase the average amount of a contract, because cost and value are 2 completely different things. And then unless your name is Cody, role playing is volunteer based. So we've had a lot of people come in, and I joke about that because I think we have like 7 Codys on, but it's volunteer based. We go through a couple different things. One is role playing that we'll do later on inside the series. We also do a halftime, which is pretty cool, because that's where we actually go in and dissect an opportunity, maybe something that you guys are trying to close, something that went silent, or just some type of opportunity where you're like, I don't get it. This person's not responding. Why? Well, we go into it in a coaching scenario and say, hey, what's going on with this? What's going on with this? So it takes a lot to be humble enough to open up your book of business. To be honest with you, I don't care who the company is. I don't care where they're at. I care about solving the problem, right? Providing a solution. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to walk through this. We're going to talk about the 3 check boxes. And ultimately, we want you guys to be comfortable. So go ahead, use the questions. If you guys have questions, type them in as we roll. David and I will be looking at that. And if we get to the end and have time, which I really try to do, we'll answer anything else like that. But feel free, tag them in. something you like, you don't like, you agree, you disagree, throw it in there. This is supposed to be an interactive side. So cool. David, you want to talk about the impact?
Yeah. So I think the real question that we want you guys to ask yourself here is, have you guys lost a deal in the last 3 months that you know you could have or should have won? If you think back through. Okay. If that happened to you, there's some very specific reasons why, and we want to do work here to figure out how to stop that. But going back to what I was talking about a little bit before, the one thing that we really want to talk about is really more the why here, right? We have to understand the opportunity that is before us and what I would consider a responsibility, because the ripple effect of what we believe, Chad and I believe, is the most powerful role in business as salespeople, as trusted advisors. We have to understand that we have a responsibility to help our prospects clearly see the very best path forward to solving their problems and improving their lives. This role is not about slinging our stuff. This is not about how do we get low price and just get somebody to buy whatever it is that we have to offer. Okay. We've got to see that the more people we can help improve their lives, the sales is a virtuous cycle, and helping those people allows us to earn the nearly limitless amounts of money that we can, so we can then provide at the highest level possible for those that we love the most. Again, like I referenced at the top of this thing, that virtuous cycle also instills a level of confidence that's undeniable when we walk through the door to our homes every single day. I mean, the ripple effect of this thing is real, right? The confidence that there's truly no limit to what we're able to achieve if we're willing to build our tool set and our skill set, not cross our fingers and hope that we get a deal, that we strategically create a sales process that positions us to win deals that we should be winning the vast majority of the time. And that mindset of abundance and perfection of our craft, it's infectious to our kids and our spouses. It's infectious to our communities. This is the role when you go home for Christmas and people say, "What do you do?" And you say you're in sales, you get that weird look. It should be completely different than that. It should be, "Oh, wow," because they realize who you're helping in the community or in the market that you're serving and how you're able to provide for the people that you love the most. It is absolutely the best role out there. And that is why we are so freaking passionate about giving you guys the strategic tool set that we've learned over the course of a decade and a half here.
So I want to jump in real quick if you're cool with it, David, because David had brought this to the table on like the idea of the impact and the ripple and all that. And it really hit home to me, because as a sales rep, you are, and not even a sales rep, let's just talk about roofing, right? We're all here for commercial roofing. And what you guys are doing is protecting, number one, the largest asset on that building. Okay. Now, depending on how big the building is, skyscrapers, I get there's variables to it, but typically the roof is the single most expensive asset on a building. And it's a fact that it has to be replaced every 20 to 30 years, or sometimes every 15 to 30 years, depending on the type of roof, how well it's maintained. Now, when that roof fails, whatever is in that building, it could be people, electronics, goods, paper product, it could be anything that's in that building, it is now jeopardized, right? Because the roof it keeps heat in, it keeps cool in, it keeps heat out, it keeps cool out. It also protects it from the elements and protects whatever's in that building. So you guys have to understand that what you guys are doing is providing a professional service to be able to protect that business. So when you look at the ripple effect, this hits home to me, right? Because the sale is only the initial impact. That's when it hits the water, right? The ripple effect is everything else that it affects. And I'm just going to go high level, and I'm just going to make this up as I roll. But think about Amazon, okay? Amazon distribution center, you have a distribution center near your house. Well, if they have some type of roof leak, and let's say catastrophic failure, okay? Hope it doesn't happen, but catastrophic failure, whatever is in that building is possibly jeopardized or destroyed, which means all of the products that are in there. Now, let's just assume that it's Band-Aids, okay? Making this up. If you don't have Band-Aids and you order them, what happens? I've all had this happen. You get the email from Amazon saying that it's delayed, right? Or the shipment's been lost or something like that. That's an impact, right? It's an impact to you because you need Band-Aids because you're going camping this weekend. Okay, whatever the situation is, that's how this works, guys. If we don't stop the leaks on the Amazon distribution center, it's going to destroy the Band-Aids, which is ultimately going to affect your family. You see how this goes down? And it affects the community because whoever is ordering from whatever this is. Now, I don't care if it's Amazon. Think about Walgreens or anything else or any product. This is not about roofing, guys. This is about protecting your client, the asset, the tenants, the business, and what we do to be able to maintain that. So change that mindset. If you guys don't have that mindset, change it right now. That's what you guys do. You guys affect and improve and protect this community based off the services that you provide. And if you can get that mindset, it makes it a hell of a lot easier to be able to take that step into that trusted advisor. So I'll let you roll, David. Sorry. You're muted. That's the number one sin.
I know the dog was going nuts. I apologize. But it's true. Do we wake up in the morning because like, yeah, our company figured out how to lower our prices even more so I can be low price, and ultimately our prospects don't see value. So low price is the only way that we can sell something. Or is it, no, I get to go help people and I get to help them solve their problems. And when we look at this, the big thing that we see, if we really boil it down, guys, if we are just completely honest with ourselves, the vast majority of salespeople are operating on a strategy of hope. I hope we get this deal. Hope is not a strategy. Okay. You cannot hope that you're getting the deal. Position yourself to get the deal. So then it's the question of, what is the big rock? What's the biggest issue that is keeping you as a salesperson from strategically placing yourself in a position to win the vast majority of the deals that are qualified for your company to be able to help that client resolve their issue? Okay. And this comes after hundreds, I mean, maybe even at this point, 4 figures of sales calls that we've listened to over the last 5 to 10 years. I mean, it's just ridiculous the amount of detail we've gotten into it. It boils down to one major issue. And that big rock, if we can remove it, can start to really clear the path for unlimited success in your role. Okay. So the biggest issue that we have seen, go ahead, Chad, take it from here.
Okay. All right. So sales reps, when you guys lose a job, right, it's not that you made one massive mistake. It's typically an accumulation of multiple different things that didn't happen. And we're going to talk about those as we go through this training. But it's multiple small failures. It's little information that you're missing or maybe not asking or avoiding that's keeping from getting to the real problem, right? So if you gather all of the information, right, and you put this back together, it allows you to be able to present it back clearly. So if you guys haven't went through a meeting and at the end of the conversation mirrored back to them exactly what was said to make sure that you understood it correctly, that is the number one skill that I'm going to ask you guys to be able to take home. Clarity. Clarity, clarity, clarity. Because just because David said it doesn't mean that I understand it the same way that David said it. Right? Anybody have that problem, spouse, anything else? They say something and then you repeat it back. It's like, that's not what I said. This is what we're trying to get. Step one is clarity, because all of the reasons that we lose jobs is easily trackable. It's easily measurable. So when we present it clearly back to our buyers, it makes it easy for them to understand it. And it also gives them confidence that we know the end goal. So I believe it's, oh man, I'm trying to think of the book. I think I put it inside there. But anyway, I want to talk about the 2 degrees of separation. The 2 degrees of separation is Atomic Habits. There we go. There we go. James Clear, Atomic Habits. He gives an example which flows so beautifully into this. So it basically says that if a plane was to leave Los Angeles and fly to New York City, but it was off at the takeoff 2 degrees, a degree that is so minimal that you would never even know that it was wrong until you basically hit Utah or Colorado, right? 2 degrees. I'm talking about just smallest little bit. When it got to the destination, it would actually be in Washington, D.C. versus New York City. That is the impact of not having complete alignment. And we call this the 2 degrees of separation. And what happens is when you miss information in the discovery side, in the questions, when you first meet the customer, it means that you are going to assume, it means that you are going to guess, and it means that you are not going to have complete alignment throughout the entire process. Because when we have complete alignment, it means that you and the customer are driving in the exact same direction. It means that there are no assumptions in your sales process. It means that you've asked all of the questions that can possibly give you a road bump, or a roadblock, a bump, a variable, whatever that might be, you guys are driving in the same direction and you're going to end in the same city, not the difference between New York City and Washington, D.C. So we've defined the critical checkpoints that you guys need to meet, right? To be absolute, sorry, I'm mixing myself up a little bit, to be absolute on what your customer is looking for, because your customer has a problem and they're calling you for a reason. They're engaging you for a reason because they don't have everything they need in order to be able to get to their end goal. And that's where a solution is needed. So we talk about these checkpoints, why the checkpoints are missed, right? And ultimately your client ends up confused. And David, you say it best, when a client is confused,
they can't act.
They can't do anything. They don't do anything, guys. So if you guys have got to a point in your sales process where you've delivered a proposal, which means you have done absolutely everything to be able to make sure that what you are delivering to them is perfect, exactly what they want. It's just common sense to sign the piece of paper, and then they don't do it, guys. There's something else going on. There's a piece of the puzzle that you guys missed. And that piece of the puzzle, it could be a buying process. They got to take it to a board. They got to get approval from someone else. They got to do something like that. And if we take these critical checkpoints that we're going to talk about here, it allows you to be able to take all of those variables out. So when a proposal gets delivered, we call it the automatic close, because you shouldn't have to ask for the sale. If you have to ask for the sale, you've already lost it. There's already some type of confusion that's keeping them from acting. So the confused mind cannot act. We're here to be able to create clarity and confidence that your customer has the right choice or the right problem that they're trying to solve, and you guys have the right solution to be able to get there.
And that's why we basically, our belief is sales has changed. It's much more of a process and data-driven science than an artistic expression. At the end of the day, we see it as a valuable service that you can deliver consistently as a trusted advisor. And we've got to get away from the persuasive conversations that you guys are just trying to go through and deliver. They need to solve their problems. You don't need to persuade them into anything. You need to create a clear plan. You need to align to what it is that they're trying to achieve and help them create a clear plan. We're going to give you guys the absolute step-by-step process on how to actually do this. We're going to go through and show you step by step, how would you deliver this service and be that strategic consultant, that trusted advisor that helps them get to where they want to go, so that they know every single time that they talk with you, they're going to be able to achieve their end goal. And they're not playing a game of, Russian roulette, if you will, in hoping that this is actually going to happen. And we're going to do that and show you how in technology, we can put this playbook into something that you could rattle off literally on every single sales call, not a script, a playbook that gives you the key pieces of information that you've got to ensure that you get so you don't jeopardize the deal. How many times have you guys not understood that what the buying process is that they have to go through, and you didn't realize that there was a limit on what they could spend, and you went past that limit, which put them into a world of a bunch of red tape, and some other one of your competitors came through, stayed under that limit, and you ended up losing that job when you shouldn't have, because you didn't get all of the critical information necessary. This is not 100 pieces of information, guys. We're going to go through and show you strategically how you can gather 8 to 11 pieces of information and ensure that you're not losing the deals that you should be getting. Okay. And we're going to show you how that in gathering these informations through these plays, essentially what we've done, if you want to go to the next slide, we've anticipated. We all know what the common objections are. We all know, there's no surprise anymore. Oh, wow, I've never heard that objection before, unless you've never been in sales, right? Unless you're brand new to the game, which is fine. But for the rest of us that has been in the game for a long time, we know what the freaking objections are. So the play that we're going to give you and the plays that we're going to give you are going to proactively overcome those objections. So you don't have to overcome them once the seeds of doubt have been planted and they've started to grow. There's no reason for that. I hate training on objection handling. You should already have the freaking information. And the only way to overcome objections are, Chad, I'm confused. I understand what you just said, but I'm confused because earlier you said this. Tell me where we got out of alignment. Tell me where that 2 degrees of separation all of a sudden happened when I didn't think it did. That's not overcoming objections, guys. That's being a strategic seller who understands how to put together a plan and drive people to the outcomes that they want.
100%. So I've been in this, guys, almost 20 years. And anytime that someone gives me an objection, there's something that we didn't cover. So exactly what David said. There's a way to be able to overcome this, right? This is the 2 degrees of separation, asking the right question. Hey, you know what? We decided that we're going to hold off. Anybody ever hear that one? Raise some hands or emojis or whatever it is. Oh yeah, I'm just waiting to hear back from my boss. I turned it over to him. I'm just waiting to hear something back. We actually moved forward. We just went with someone who was a little bit cheaper, or the one that really is unique to me. I had to deal with this with a few weeks ago. We bid the project for $20,000, and they said, you know what? We've awarded the job. A contractor did it for approximately 50%. Come on. 50%. There's no one who's doing this job for free. There's a completely different scope of work that was proposed that I didn't have the opportunity, or the team that I was working with, right, didn't have the opportunity to be able to match it. There was something else that was unique in that sales process where that 2 degrees of separation completely went haywire, and we were probably 15 degrees of separation because it was something along the lines of the discovery, right? So we don't have the budget for this right now. That means they showed up, asked for a roof replacement, and it's like, oh man, I thought this was going to be $10,000. We're going to handle it ourselves, and we're going to go with another vendor. So I appreciate your time. I appreciate the effort. You know, I loved working with you guys. Maybe the next opportunity we can get inside there. Someone did a better job, guys. It's going to hurt, but your process, it sucks. And it's not going to get you where you need to be. Because if you are one of the individuals that deliver a proposal because you know 3 people are bidding on it and you put 33% as the close ratio, you might as well just mark it dead and walk away, because the only way you're winning that is if you're low dollar. We're talking about adding value to the situation. Cost and value are 2 different things. Cost is what you pay, value is what you get. So we can create that clarity and that confidence within our customers. It makes it a lot easier.
Now, the key to what we'll be going through over the rest of this entire series, guys, is not about closing absolutely everybody. It's about, how do you guys stop losing the deals that are going with another vendor? How do you guys stop losing the deals that are using internal resources? How do you start to shave off and start getting more of the pie, if you will, because you're not losing over the objections that you shouldn't be unequipped to be able to handle because you didn't get all of the information. And because it's never going to be about closing every single sale. It's just about closing more sales every single month, because you're not continuing to bump up against these objections. And for those of you guys that weren't here at the start, we had a little bit of a life lesson or a leadership lesson. We can't encourage you guys enough to take responsibility for every lost deal that you have, because it is your fault at some level. Take responsibility for it, because if you take responsibility for it, then and only then can you figure out how to change it. But if you keep blaming everybody else and every other situation and every other factor, you don't have any control over anything. And who is that benefiting other than CYA, right? Other than that, it doesn't help. Got it?
Got it. All right, guys. So what we're talking about ultimately is discover and disqualify. And we'll talk about this throughout pretty much all 3 check boxes. But when we talk about not, if you've watched any of my LinkedIn videos, right, more leads is not better. It's not, hey, who can handle 10 leads? Because 10 leads is a lot of time, energy, and effort to be able to go run those leads. And if you make the commitment to be able to bid those opportunities before you've done the right discovery, before you've done the right type of diagnosis of what's going on, the only thing you're committing to is a lower close ratio and working more hours. And I don't think anybody truly wants to commit to that. So what I'm talking about is, how can you guys close just one more sale each month? Just one sale. Because doing just one more sale is the difference between where you are right now and taking that next step to be able to become that $1 million sales rep. Because when you can close one more sale and you can increase the average dollar amount of that sale, that's when you start having the domino effect. So what I'm talking about is helping more people. You can't help someone that doesn't have a problem or a goal. You can try to scare them, right? We can all do the scare tactic of, oh, this roof's over here and it's not going to last. You've never had it inspected. There's not much integrity that comes with scare tactics. You can educate, that's good, but educate doesn't, again, create a pile of money that solves a problem or gets a company to a goal. So what we're talking about is understanding why you're losing those jobs. And understanding, looking at some of this stuff, right? We do it ourselves. We have the cheapest option. We have no budget. We're holding off. If you have a 25% close ratio, it means that 75% of your customers are probably using one of these 4 items to be able to tell you why you didn't win the job. And when we get to a point to discover and disqualify, what I'm talking about is getting better or closer to that 2 degrees of separation. Because if we can eliminate just one of these items, which means we're going to use our time on jobs that are better aligned to what we actually do. So let's get rid of the no budget. Anybody here know how we get rid of the no budget? We ask the question. And it's not, do you have a budget for this? We put it inside a way that helps them, right? Have you guys ever had to buy something like this before? How did you go about doing that? Because as a trusted advisor, you're not looking for them to tell you, oh, I got $13,000 budgeted, because just like every used car salesman, guess how much that car is going to be? $12,999. Help your client get clarity and confidence that the problem that they're trying to solve justifies the cash they're going to spend. So help them understand there's a budget, right? I don't have a budget for this. It's too much. We can eliminate that. And when we eliminate that, what happens? Well, we spend more time with people who are actually aligned to our business. Now let's get to the rest of the do-yourselfers, right? The individual who went up there, fixed it 12 times himself. Then we had a telemarketer call and say, yeah, you can come out. Yeah, take a look at it. And you give them a proposal for sealant and fasteners. Anybody actually think he's going to pay someone to do sealant and fasteners, or he's going to do it himself? We can ask the right questions. We can get to a point to understand, okay, is this customer just looking to be able to use us for a way to be able to complete it? Or does he truly need a trusted partner that's going to help him get to that goal? We can eliminate that. And when you start eliminating the do-it-yourself, guess what happens? The close ratio goes up, the cheapest option. How have you guys bought this inside the past? What did the process look like? All of this allowing us to be able to understand their buying strategy and what value is to them. Cost and value, again, 2 different things. So if you wonder how people get to the 40, the 50, the 60%, they are not running the amount of leads that you probably are. Or they have a better qualification system that makes sure once they get to the point of delivering the proposal, that customer is within the absolute alignment, right? They're not more than that 2 degrees of separation that leaves you with, I don't know, I'll call and follow up with them. Get rid of that. Ask the questions up front, find the best clients that align to your business, and you can help more people.
Yep. Ultimately, guys, your conversion rate should always be increasing. And we're just going to go back to the analogy on sports, guys. Just always think about this. You should be able to score more against the zone defense. You should be able to score more against the box and one, because you see it and it's keeping you from scoring. You should be able to improve. So you should always be improving your craft, but within a playbook that helps put you in position up against the things that are keeping you from being able to achieve your goal, which is help other people. All right, so we're going to start to buzz through some of this stuff at the top here, just to make sure that we can get into the very specific stuff around checkpoint 1. But these are we call this the perfect buyer's journey, right? We talked about this last week. Buyer's intent is people want to, they're looking for the best solution to solve the biggest problems, causing things that are causing enough pain and keeping them from important outcomes, right? So what's the journey that they want to go on? Because if we can help them do that, we're both on the same page and want to get to the same outcome. So how do we create the perfect buyer's journey? Well, we think through 3 checkpoints of, do they need to act first and foremost? Because if it's not a big enough problem to act, then do not pass go. Do not collect $200. If this is painful enough that they do need to take action, do they actually need outside help? And this is where you guys will lose so many of your deals and not know why, because it seemed like they were excited. It seemed like they were going to solve it. And then they stayed with their existing roofer, or they just had somebody internally solve it for them. If they do actually need help and they do need new help, then the last question is, do we have the best solution? But we got to stop going out there and just pitching our stuff and putting our proposals in front of people, because that's checkpoint 3. If they don't pass the first 2, our proposal is a waste of time. And then we want to discover and disqualify them if they don't meet each one of these checkpoints. But what we found is the vast majority do. That's why they're spending their precious time with a salesperson.
So what I want to talk about and what we're going to be going through is the 3 Ds. So discovery, diagnosis, demonstration. Those are the three things that we're going to focus on here, guys. But we're doing discovery ultimately because we're going to determine initially if this is painful enough for them to act on, just like David said. Everybody knows the stained ceiling tile in the Chinese restaurant in the strip mall is not the same thing as the stained ceiling tile in a Chick-fil-A. Same problem, same roof issue. What's the impact to the business? The return on investment is not what they pay. It's not the cost of the proposal. It's the return that they get from not having the issue happen anymore. That's going to be really important. So we're going to dive deep into that. Diagnosis is we're going to determine the potential problem they're facing that aligns to what your company does, right? Think about this instead of doctor side. So we're going to diagnose, we're going to get up on that roof, and we're going to find out how our solution gets them to their goal. That's the diagnosis part. And then finally, the demonstration. This is how you position your company as an expert in solving this issue. David says it 100 times better than me, right? But if you have a knee issue, you need to have knee surgery, are you going to go to your general doctor or are you going to go to a knee specialist that specializes in it? You're going to go to a knee specialist. You want someone who has solved this problem. You want someone who does this every single day. You're not going to go to someone who's like, I think we can probably knock this out and pretty cheap. You would rather have someone, especially if the problem is big enough to act on, that they're going to fix it and they're going to fix it right the first time. So we're going to help you guys understand how to position your company as an expert in each product or service that you offer, which means repairs, maintenance, preventative maintenance, replacements, liquid membranes, new construction. You guys have the ability to be able to position yourself as an expert in each product or solution that you guys deliver. So we'll talk about that. Now, the fourth D that I didn't mention up here is that everything that we're doing here is to be able to create clarity and confidence for the client to make a decision. Because if we do these 3 Ds correctly and we get through the right questions and we have that absolute alignment, right? Not the 2 degrees of separation that puts us in DC when we're supposed to be inside New York. It allows the client to be able to have clarity and confidence that they're making the right decision, that the problem is big enough, they need outside help, and they have the best possible solution at their fingertips to be able to sign and move forward. That's what we call the confirmation close, right? We'll go through what those 3 questions look like to be able to help you guys close more jobs and to be able to do it at a higher dollar amount. So again, I know we're going to skim through this a little bit. But ultimately, discovery, diagnosis, demonstration, they all do all of this for one reason, and it's to be able to help the client make a decision and make that decision that you are there. So what if by the end of every sales process, you can confirm, right? You can confirm this information to where it allows you to be able to answer 3 questions. And David, I'll let you roll with this, but 3 questions, right? That's what we're talking about. How do we get it to a point where you don't have to ask for the sale? You don't have to ask for the contract to be signed.
Yep. So again, proactively, guys, you guys should be getting to the end of your sales process and be able to confirm the information that you've already figured out. And the stuff that we're going to confirm here is let's just confirm that this is still an urgent priority for you guys to solve. Is that true? Okay, great. If it is, can I confirm that you guys still need outside help to get this done, or you need a new vendor, a new company, a new roofing company to be able to do this? Yes. But again, I'm confirming information that they already gave me. I shouldn't be surprised by any of this because going through discovery and diagnosis, I already figured this out. And then lastly, we want to confirm these things. Okay, so you guys need to solve this and you need to find new outside help to do it. Great. Now we've got what we call the alignment checklist, where we drive everything to a decision. No maybes, guys. Are we still aligned on the problems needing to be solved? Not the roof leak, the thing that you diagnose that's causing the roof leak that your company is uniquely positioned to be able to solve. And are you clear on how we're going to solve it? Are we all aligned on the expected outcomes if this problem was to be solved? And now that you know our price, is the ROI sufficient? And then the last question, are we the right solution to solve these problems and get you to your outcome? So we want to be direct, drive it to a decision. No more maybes.
You are an expert, guys. So when we think about this, you are an expert. So if you're going to partner with someone who's going to pay money to be able to fix their problems, you have to instill confidence that you guys know what's going on, and asking the right questions and ensuring that they're on board, right? That you don't have those maybes, those ifs, those assumptions is what's ultimately going to result inside your success. That's proven. So the three questions are specifically aligned here to be able to answer them. If they don't say yes to each one of these, guess what? We'll show you guys how you go right back into it, and you can go in and rehash that out so you don't have to live inside those failures of they didn't respond, we went with someone cheaper, we don't have a budget for this. When you get down to this point, this is the checklist that will get them the proposal. We have not given them a proposal until this 3 checklists go through.
All right. So the first checkpoint is, do they need to act? Okay. You want to figure this out, because if they don't need to act, nothing else matters. And the common objections that you're going to get rid of as soon as you start to do this effectively is, it's not the right time, we're holding off, I'm waiting to hear back from so-and-so when they're probably not going to do anything about it anyway, and we're going with a lower cost option. Okay. So when we talked about how do you start to close the deals that you shouldn't be losing by removing these objections, these are exactly the objections that we're trying to get past here. Okay. So from the very, very start of it, you want to take the leadership position. You want to do some short rapport building and then set the agenda. Be clear on how this time will be valuable for them and confirm that they're okay with it. I can't tell you how many times I hear just some random open-ended question and you allow the prospect to take complete control over what's going on. Be that leader, set the agenda, allow them to understand that their time with you is going to help them get to their goal. And it's not just about getting a price as quickly as possible so I can try to compare vendors and ultimately choose the one that's in the middle from a price perspective, but somehow makes you feel comfortable.
I'm going to go a little bit deeper inside this because I feel I need to say it, guys. This is so, so important, because if you don't define what the agenda is and what you're trying to help him achieve, the only thing that's going to be going through his mind is, where's the proposal? Where's the price? You've seen probably 1,000 different memes out there, right? Of ask the questions and shut up, or the best questions will be able to, create all of that. That's all great. But what you guys need to be able to do is define it up front so your client's mind is not wondering and he's in the conversation with you, right? Not wondering, okay, how much is this? Okay, what's going on? Or he's thinking about what he has to do later. So if you set the agenda up front and make sure that he has the time to be able to do it, you get a much more engaged prospect that's actually there to help solve the problems with you.
Perfect. So we set the agenda, and then we just want to understand the most important question, guys. We set the agenda. They know that we've taken control. This isn't going to be a waste of their time. Why are they meeting with us? And they're meeting with us for one of 4 reasons. They're reacting to an active problem. They're wanting to avoid a near-term problem. They're wanting to prevent a long-term problem, or they just see it as they're wanting to achieve a goal. But it's either a problem or a goal. Okay. So when we look at it, we want to understand what their objective is. That's the very, very first step in the process. Chad, I know you're super busy. If you're on the phone with me or if you're meeting with me now, there's either a problem that you're trying to solve with the roof or a goal that you're trying to achieve. Which is it? And we get right into it. They say a problem or a goal, and then we ask them what either one of those is, and they'll start to give it to us. But we're going to find them where they're located and what they are most worried about. Then we want to get into who is involved and how. Now, this is a great example of pieces of information that get missed, right? A lot of you are going to be good at finding out who's responsible for solving the problem, right? Whoever that point person is that you're talking to. But are you doing what's necessary to be able to figure out who has the authority to actually make this decision? Are you really getting clear, and are you doing it in a way where you're not making the gatekeeper alarm go off and them saying, don't worry about that. I'm your guy, right? It's not what we ask, it's how we ask it. And lastly, do you understand what their process is for these kinds of purchases? Like I said before, in that other example that we talked about, there might be a limit that they can go above and beyond. There might be some red tape that they have to go through that's causing that deal to drag on. So in terms of your quota, it's going to move into the next month or the next quarter. If it does, if you guys do get selected, and then your pipeline and your forecast goes to crap, you got to get this information. You have to understand what these critical things are, because if you do, that'll go ahead.
No, dude, you're on, and I apologize for interrupting, but please notice, guys, we have not said anything about our company. This is not a sales pitch for our company. We went right in and we're solving their problems. We showed up because they have a problem or a goal that they're trying to achieve. The last thing that they want is to hear about how long the company's been inside business, because that means nothing to them if you guys don't have the ability to fix the problem, right? Or help get them to that goal. And the difference between responsible and authority, right? Who's responsible for solving the issue? You're going to get that, ego individual that says, nah, that's me. That's why you're meeting with me. And then as soon as you give him a $20,000 proposal, you're going to learn that it wasn't him. And you went through this entire process to be able to have him pitch it to his boss, which he's going to destroy, right? Because all your stuff was this beautiful sought out like buildup of clarity and confidence. And then he's going to give it to his boss and say, yeah, I got 3 proposals. Here's the 3. And, I like this guy because he was really thorough. It completely destroys what you guys do. So ask the questions up front. Who's responsible for getting to the problem? Who has the authority to sign off on it? And then how do you guys make these decisions, right? Have you had to purchase something like this in the past? Learn about that. Again, I'm not asking for a dollar amount. I'm not asking how much you can spend. I'm not asking what the board has to approve. Have you had to purchase something like this in the past? Because there's a chance that he hasn't. And that means that he's going to be learning through the process too. And there's not a better spot to be a trusted advisor than helping your client get to their goal. Even if that's not the end goal, right? The more you can help your client is the more you become that trusted asset, that trusted resource to helping him get to where he ultimately needs to be.
Yep. So that brings us now, we're getting the decision makers every single time, right? So we've set the agenda. Okay, here's what we're going to do and why it's going to be valuable for you. You're really busy. If you're meeting with me, there's either a problem or a goal. Which is it? Okay, now that we understand the problem that you're trying to solve here, who are the decision makers? What's the process that you guys go through to do that? And then from there, what's their current reality? What have they tried thus far to solve their problem or accomplish their goal? And why hasn't it worked at the level needed? Right? Are they currently using any other contractors? If they haven't tried to solve it, why not? That tells you something. If they have, then you can go in and you can start to break open the lack of confidence that they should have in their existing resources, right? You've got to be able to crack these things open every single time. Go ahead.
If you don't ask these questions, guys, there is a massive, massive chance that you're going to bid the same exact scope that they may have already tried and failed. Yep. And if that happens, that means you guys have a 0% chance of actually closing that job. So what have you tried so far? Okay. Do you have photos of it? Did you go up and look at it? Talk to him. This is his problem, right? This is his goals he's trying to get to. Live in his world and understand what he's truly going through. Why hasn't it worked? This is a painful question, guys. Don't ever, ever assume. That is one of my biggest pitfalls, is that my head, when I'm in a conversation, even when I'm role playing, I'm just thinking about this stuff. It's like, oh man, this. Don't assume. Don't think about it inside your head. Say it out loud. It's the mirroring effect, right? To be able to say, okay, why do you think that hasn't worked? Well, because, he wasn't a roofer and he came up with duct tape and it could, whatever it is, make him say it. It's painful to say it, but sometimes you have to create that reality that he's in before he understands what he truly wants. Perception is reality, especially when you're dealing with situations where someone's not an expert. And that's where you guys are coming in and again, building to that trusted advisor side.
Yep. All right. So now we've got their current reality. And now we go to the final step. Basically, it's if this problem continues not to be able to be solved, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? Go to the next slide. What do they see? So if you guys continue not to be able to solve this, what are you seeing as the worst thing that's going to happen? Realistically speaking, right? Do they have real concerns around slip fall hazards? Do they have real concerns around ruined inventory? Do they have real concerns around having to shut down the shop and losing production time? Right? What if the issue's not fixed correctly the first time? Then what are the repercussions? What are the ramifications of that? Don't just assume. Ask the freaking questions. Ask them. And the biggest thing that we see is that you guys are too busy there trying to be liked and not worried enough about ensuring that you're covering all of your bases. I don't care if they think your question is stupid. I don't care. Because if they think it's stupid, you can give them 10 reasons why it's not. Because everything affects everybody differently. And you're a professional. And you talk to hundreds of people a year about this stuff. And not everybody's in the same situation. You want to find out where they're at. And it could be any number of different possibilities that they don't see because they're in their own head. Ask the right questions. Find the right ways to ask them so that they come off and they're clear.
So the one thing I want to chime in on this and just bring it into the construction world, guys, is that this has nothing to do with roofing. This has everything to do with their business. And we're going to dive into this in the next few trainings that we do. But what's the worst thing that will happen? This has nothing to do with the roof. Okay. The roof is just a minor cost to the true disruption to the business if they're going to spend money, right? Because if it destroys $1,000 worth of stuff every time it rains, but your proposal is $50,000. Well, we got to get to that tolerance to be able to see, okay, that's 50 times, right? The cost to be able to fix this is 50 times the ROI. Well, they might not do it at that point, right? So don't be afraid to play the opposite side of the card. What's the worst thing that's going to happen if you don't get this fixed? What if you don't fix it right the first time? This is not the cost of the proposal. Yes, they have to pay for it a second time. What's the impact to the business? What's the impact if it gets destroyed again? There's a slip fall hazard. It destroys computers. Logistics is messed up. That is the measurable outcome that we're looking for. And we'll talk more about that. And then the one that really plays the opposite side of the card, what if they choose not to do anything at all? What is it? I have been in situations where I have truly told the client, I don't think this problem is big enough for you guys to spend this money. And no joke, they came back and said, actually, I disagree, it is. And it opened up the best conversation ever because there was a whole variable that I didn't know about. So asking these questions takes out all of the assumptions. It also takes out I'm going to throw proposals on the wall and hope it goes through. Now, the one thing that you guys might run into is a seasoned, ultimately, I'll say seasoned buyer, I think is what I'm going to do, where they're going to be frustrated. Okay. They're going to say, just give me a proposal. David, can you just give me a proposal, man? That is probably going to happen if you are dealing with someone who is trying to commoditize you. And much like David said, when that happens, you have to break it down. I'm asking these questions so I can give you guys the best possible solution for your problem. And if you're looking for me to be able to give you a proposal for someone else's solution, unfortunately, I can't do that because that means I'm trusting someone else for the outcome of what you're asking me to provide. So let me say that again. If you bid off of someone else's proposal, someone else's solution, you are trusting their discovery, diagnosis, and demonstration, right? Or discovery and diagnosis for sure, that they've done all the correct steps. And I'm sorry, guys, I will never do that. If the client won't spend enough time with you to truly diagnose what's going on and the solution that they're trying to get and pay money for, it may not be the right opportunity. Or you may have to reposition it and gain some trust with him that you're not just another contractor trying to sell a proposal or push products down his throat. So ask the question, if you guys don't do anything at all, what happens?
Yep. And I think the key, we'll go back to it. What Chad said earlier. We haven't said anything about ourselves yet. And don't get tempted to, because we don't matter. It's all about them and what they're going through and whether or not they need to take action against this. And that leads us now into that first checkpoint. We do this and we say, okay, based on the worst thing that's going to happen here, right? Let's say the office is going to get shut down and you're going to lose out on sales calls because your administrators can't work, potentially losing $30,000 a day and new sales opportunities, whatever the thing is, right? Okay. So, just help me calibrate here on a scale of 1 to 10. How big of a priority is this for you guys to solve? And it's quick. Well, it's a 10, obviously, David. Okay. I thought so. I just wanted to make sure. Doesn't matter if they like me. It matters if we're aligned, right? I'm not trying to be their friend. I'm trying to be their trusted advisor. But what you will get is you'll get, yeah, actually, I didn't think about that. We didn't think about the ramifications of a lot of this. This is actually a big deal. We need to get it solved quickly. I wasn't thinking that way before. Thank you, David. Right. But now we're clear. They need to take action on this. Checkpoint 1. We're good. We've now gotten there systematically every single time. And each question needs to connect. We set that agenda and say, okay, great. If you're talking to a freaking salesperson, instead of doing all the other things you can do to waste your time today, right? You either have a problem or a goal. Which is it? We figure out the problem or goal. Then we want to understand who is responsible for solving that problem and who has the authority on how it gets solved. And then from there, we want to understand, okay, we have the main characters. What have those main characters tried to do up until this point to solve this problem, and why hasn't it worked? Because if it had, they wouldn't be talking to you. And if it continues to not be resolved, what's the worst thing that's going to happen to their company or their business? Not to the roof, right? It's the impact. Like Chad said, it's the impact that that roof has on everything else. That's the pain. That creates the urgency around it. And they're all connected. And it should sound fluid, and it should sound strategic and methodical, like you're delivering a valuable freaking service to these people. Like we said before, pardon my language. Some people think freaking is a cuss word, Chad. I've learned that. Apologize for dropping the old F-bomb on you guys.
Wrong industries. We're in a bunch of roofers that can say almost whatever they want on a roof.
I don't know. In today's world, I think every industry gets a little offended, I think. I don't know. But
I know. So guys, I know that you're thinking, holy crap, this is probably a lot of questions, but we've really narrowed it down to 3 checkpoints. We have the questions outlined. You guys don't have to think about them. We have them all together. Now, there's 2 different ways you can do it. I'll call level 1 and level 2. Level 1 is you ask the right questions. You ask the right questions, you get the right answers, you get that 2 degrees of separation. But what's going to happen, and we're going to talk about this inside the future, is how you take all of this discovery and position it for your client to understand, and not just your client, but your clients or your decision makers, all plural. There's multiple people to have that complete alignment. So if you guys haven't checked it out, I know we've talked about this a lot. So a couple different ways. All of this is online, guys. This is an app. It can be on your phone. It can be on your iPad. It can be on your desktop. All of the questions are there. When you ask the question, you just type it down, right? You just type it. It's that simple. You can use voice dictation if you want to. All of this is going to create what we're going to show you, which is called a workspace. So when we start creating the workspace, it creates complete alignment with the customer, because if something is not right, they call it out. So we're going to talk a lot more about this, but what I want to do, we've got 3 minutes left inside this, guys.
What I will say real quick, Chad, is, guys, if you were worried about the number of questions that you're asking, you've got the wrong mindset. Do you guys ever go to the doctor and you think to yourself, man, this guy, they can only ask me 2 questions here, 2 to 3 questions before I'm going to walk out of here? It's not how many questions you ask, it's how you're asking the questions.
Great point.
Practice this stuff. Sound like a freaking professional that does this with hundreds of people every year. For people that only do this twice a year, show up as that professional, ask it in a professional manner, and they are more than happy to answer your questions, because this stuff is not cheap. If anything, our industry has conditioned people to just spend money and cross their fingers that it's going to work out, because we have not been doing our freaking jobs. Start doing your job, start doing it in a professional manner, and you will be shocked at how prospects will go on this journey with you and love every minute of it, and start referring more people to you and start ensuring that you always have their business.
David's bubbly water is kicked in, guys. If it was 58 minutes earlier, we'd be jamming at this point.
You ate my own bubbly water, because you give me a plug every week, man. I'd just be selling cases of that stuff every Tuesday. Go ahead.
So, guys, I'm going to encourage you, take something you learned today and use it inside the field. If it's one of the questions, one of the 4 questions that we gave you guys, take one, just try it. Right? Put it out there, become comfortable with it. What's going to happen is you guys are going to ask the question and you're going to get an answer that's indirect. And it's going to require you guys to be able to probe, right? Go deeper. Talk to me more about that. And we'll talk to you about how you ask that, but tell me more about that problem. It's a simple way to be able to do it. And then finally, summarize the answer back to them. Because again, you want that absolute alignment. You don't want that 2 degrees of separation. Summarize the problem. Make sure what you're hearing is what he's saying. So here's what I ask from you guys. It costs you nothing to be a part of this. What I want you guys to do is take this and share this. Share it with someone who's having problems in sales or needs to increase it. And more importantly, share it for someone that you don't know is struggling or maybe needs a new or different way to be able to expand. That's what I asked from you guys. That's why David and I are here. With that, we will give you access to the app. You will have access to David's book, Buyer-Centric Selling. You will have access to everything that we're going to show you throughout these trainings, and it's not going to cost you a penny, guys. We want to raise the floor of the sales world in the commercial roofing world, because if we don't, we're only going to be battling every horrible sales rep that destroyed the client's experience. And that means when you show up with integrity and you try to sell something, you're only going to get a shield of, why are you asking me these questions? Give me a proposal. I'm not interested in talking to you. And that's not an enjoyable atmosphere. No one wants to take that shield down every single time. Share it, guys. David, I will get you access to this. You guys can start using it. The questions are there, and there's a boatload of stuff, including the 3D sales playbook that's all available within the workspace. That's my request to you guys. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on Facebook. I'll leave this up for a couple minutes here before we get rolling. My LinkedIn, David's LinkedIn. And if you guys are truly badass, give us a video testimonial. Tell us why this worked for you, or maybe even just a success story of how you used some of this and got you there. But that's what I ask, guys. Thank you for joining. 3:00 on the dot. David, anything to close out on your side, sir?
No, lots of new names here this week. Excited to have you guys here. But at the end of the day, none of this stuff matters, guys, if you don't actually start implementing it. And I'm going to give you guys the hard truth, because that's the kind of mood I'm in. I don't care how uncomfortable you are. Because on the other side of your discomfort, starting to ask these questions, start to integrate these critical pieces, these critical questions into your playbook to actually ensure you're getting the information, is a world that you can't imagine, a world of limitless success in the sales arena that, as we said at the top, can give you the freedom, and give your family the freedom, and give the market that you serve the freedom to achieve the outcomes that they want. And it's just absolutely important. It is so freaking critical. Lean in. Sales is the best position in business as far as we're concerned. It is the role that people should find themselves in and stay in forever, but they need the support. And that's what we want to give you guys.
There we go. All right, guys. Thank you. Have an awesome week. Hit me up, LinkedIn, Facebook, whatever it might be. Share my stuff. I would truly appreciate it. And we'll see you next week. Thanks, y'all.
See you guys.